Hello. Hi, everybody. Might just wait a little second. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Julie. Hi, everybody. Okay, I guess I'll just start now because, it's 6 o'clock. um, so I will just start with a little bit about who I am. And I'm sorry if this is like a bit distracting. I don't know. It's the sun. Hi. Um, the refractions, they're pretty, but a bit distracting. Um, Hi Nina. What should I start with? I will start with, well, firstly, my name is Rida, and I'm a self-taught photographer, I guess. Still feels strange saying that, to be honest with you. And basically, I'll start a little bit about how I started on Instagram, and that's like really how my my dive into photography started. And it was basically when Zora was born. So Zora's my eldest, and she was just like a few months old, really, and had just got an Instagram like recently-ish, and I was basically a bit bored because like I feel like not enough people say like having a newborn baby can be a little bit boring at times, like not boring, but like you have to. I didn't really have anything else to do because I was at uni, and then I got pregnant, and then I had Zora, and so I was at home and kind of like, what do I do? And then I found this whole community of Instagram people who took pictures of the things, like little vignettes, so mainly flowers, and household objects and stuff like that. And so yeah, it just kind of started with me snapping pictures on my iPhone, my then old iPhone. And I used to use an app called Visco. I say Visco. I don't know whether people say VSCO. So I used to use Visco, and then I discovered Lightroom not that long ago, actually, maybe like just over a year ago, maybe 2 years. It's tricky to know now. But a friend was like, I just don't use Visco anymore, and I love Lightroom. So I was like, fine, I'll give it a go. Um, and yeah, so I edit everything on my phone, and it's in iPhone three-headed iPhone. Is it 11 Pro maybe? And the camera phones are pretty decent. I've got to get your questions up, actually, which we'll come to a little bit later. But yeah, so, and I'd had my trusty EP2 from when me and my husband went traveling. We had a traveling honeymoon, where we went traveling around the world. So I got it in Kuala Lumpur, a little camera, and it did not come with this lens. So it's an Olympus pen, an EP2, and it's really lightweight. But I was using it on auto all the time. And then I decided one day, like somebody I knew was doing like a photography course, and I was like, okay, let's get working on manual And then really, that was awesome. So I'm just trying to put my lens back on. There you go, clicked back on. So, and I will come to talk about lenses also, but this is a really, really old camera. So this is 9 years old now. So not that old, but like, you know, fairly old. This though, the OMD that I use a lot more now, is newer. So it's an Olympus as well. And I've worked with them on a couple of things, which has been good. I've like tested out some lenses for them, and this lens as well. And I'll talk a little bit about lenses in a bit. But that was basically, yeah, my journey from an older iPhone. Actually, somebody was making fun of me because even up until, like, I had a pretty old iPhone, like I didn't really update them super often. But that even the iPhone lenses are pretty decent, like, and so I will talk a little bit of tips of taking pictures on your iPhone, like other camera phones. There are other camera phones available. Like my brother and my mum absolutely love the Samsung ones, and I know other people who really love the Google Pixel ones as well. So that's how I basically started. I was bored with a newborn baby, and I decided to faff around, and I found a community, and I really loved it, and it kind of it just like led from one thing to another. And then, yeah, I find that it brings me so much joy, and I've always sort of been creative in different ways, but yeah, photography for me is a great way to sort of capture my kids' childhood, but also like if you've looked at my Instagram or follow me on Instagram, then you'll know that I love self-portraits, and I have loads of ideas to do like self-portraits but for other people, so not self-portraits but portraits, because I think they're a really powerful way to explore identity or make a statement. So I was going to start with a quote which, if you follow me on Instagram, you might already know, because I have shared it there, but I'm going to share it again now once I find it. I'll find it in a second. But so I'll find it in a second. So I'll talk a little bit about the kind of photography I've kind of moved on to. Like, yes, I do like paid content with brands, and I work with brands as well, but the photography that brings me the most joy is kind of, exploring like my identity as a mother, as a mixed ethnicity brown woman in Britain, and being an immigrant, and coming from Pakistan, and exploring all of that. And then also like in probably the last 2-3 years that I've been speaking more about my like, I guess it's like activism, but kind of just amplifying voices, I prefer to say, because I don't know if I'm an activist as such, but I try and amplify other voices and try and get people thinking, I guess. And also sometimes, just let out my emotions, or, whatever I'm feeling. And I feel like having a creative outlet like photography is a really wonderful way to explore that, whether it's for yourself or for other people. And actually, because this is the thing, I think some of the questions, I will find them in a second, but some of the questions were, a little bit about kind of finding your way with a camera, but I think it's really trying to figure out what inspires you, like what motivates you. Sometimes, like a lot of this talk, I'll try not to be too rambly, but it's a little bit difficult for me. They're kind of my trademark over the ramble. But basically it's just playing around, experimenting, trying to, just playing basically, and not having too many limitations on yourself or what you're trying to do or make. Like, some people do work like that, but I think sometimes it can be overwhelming, because then you have too many voices, or too many, what's the word, you can just get overwhelming. So kind of just explore with what you have. Light always inspires me, so like the light was refracting over there, and then right now I'm looking at you. I won't be able to show you, but I've got like a jug of water here, and it's sparkling on the table, and I'm really inspired by lights and shadows, and I'm sure there's lots of symbolism in that, but I think it's really beautiful. And I mostly only shoot in natural light, and I think that it's the best way to get like the richest qualities to your photos, and ensuring like like your ISO, if you're working on manual, like your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed is all sorted, to whether you're working in bright light or very dim light, or a combination, and how you kind of work around that, and then also how you edit. So I do have a picture that I took on my iPhone, and I took it on my iPhone on purpose because I've got like literally thousands of pictures I can show you from my camera, but I thought it'd be interesting to do a iPhone photo, because I think selfies, I have a soft spot for selfies. But now let me find you that Angela Davies quote. So she said, so it was a talk that she was giving for the Wow Global event last year in the summer, and it was around the sort of time that I came across the term artivism as well. So that's more what I would describe that I do, is kind of use like my photography as a medium to amplify. That's not like all I do, but it is a part of me, and it's a visible part of me on Instagram. But yeah, so I was thinking about art and activism, and then I came across artivism, which was a term that was coined by, let me read it so I don't get it wrong, Professor Ricardo Dominguez in 1997. It was a movement in like East LA, but also in Mexico, and it's a political movement to use art as, like, Banksy. He's a great example of artivism, and there are lots of people who do it, but it's very much steeped in play, and the idea of play. And I think that as adults we kind of forget that, like, play for me is like the opposite of perfection, and perfectionism is like a capitalist function. It defaults us to feeling less than, so we want more, and want is a feeling of lacking. So but play fills us up with our sort of natural capacities to, I think that's why they say like let kids get bored, because it's kind of saying like they will find a way to play, and they will create within those moments of play. So yeah, so I'll read this quote. And I think especially right now during the pandemic, and also specifically last year with the Black Lives Matter uprisings and everything like that, I think it was a really like art in all its forms was really important. So Professor Angela Davies said, "We need art in order to remind us of our humanity. They, meaning artists, allow us to feel what we do not yet know." And I just love that so much. And I was like that is it. It's within. I think that's why we need art sometimes, to take us to that state of play, to take us to that moment, those moments of the confines of, the world that we live in, which is a white supremacist capitalist cis het patriarchy. I'm just laughing, sorry, because I feel like I say those, but it's such a mouthful, but it's good to be specific. And yeah. Oh, and I have another quote. I don't know let me know if I'm doing too many quotes, or like, if you want to jump in with any questions at any point as well. But Ai Weiwei, I hope I'm saying it okay. I did look it up. If anything, art is about morals, about our belief in humanity. Without that, there is simply no art. And I think it's a really good base of trying to work out what art is and what art isn't. And, if art is, I guess it's like, sorry, tangent coming on. I should feel like I need to, like a content warning for that. But it's like when an independent designer has worked really hard to come up with a design, even if it's a slogan for a t-shirt or a dress or whatever it is. If they've created something from within themselves as something to sort of represent them, and to represent their just their what they believe in, and then a high street sort of capitalist brand then steals that would be, that is not art. That same slogan on that t-shirt loses all its meaning. It loses all of its like morality and all of its substance, I suppose. So yeah, I hope this is okay so far. So I feel like I should move on to more photography stuff now, but I'm gonna have a sip of water. Oh, that's better. And breathe. So I don't know if you could let me know in the comments, wherever the comments are for you, whether you would like me to do more technical stuff first. Do you want to like see me edit a picture on Lightroom? Because I think that so I edit all my pictures on my phone at the moment. I've only just got a new laptop, which is what I'm speaking to you on. But before that, and I still predominantly will use Lightroom Mobile. I do all my videos on here. I do all my photo editing, video editing, all on my phone. And I wasn't sure if that would like surprise some people, because I'm using like high quality images from my, well, at the moment it's the OMD, so they're pretty high resolution, but because I've got enough space on my phone, I'm able to edit I edit all my pictures on my phone, and it's for me as a mum who is what was I saying? I completely forgot. So I read the comment and I completely forgot. Yeah, as a mother, as a mama. Okay, great, thank you. So I have to edit on the go sometimes, or I'll be like cooking dinner, editing pictures. That makes me sound really whizzy and busy, but I'm not at all. Um, but when I'm working on something or I need to edit pictures, so right, I've got a couple of requests for editing pictures, so we'll edit a picture, and then I'll talk about lenses. Actually, I'm going to just talk about lenses now, just really quickly before we edit a picture. Basically, you don't need a very expensive camera body. You just don't. The pens, like especially if you get an older pen, they're pretty cheap. They're pretty affordable, and so the lenses are expensive. There are places that you can hire lenses, but they make a massive difference to your photography, like the depth of field, which I'll come to, and all of that, like compared to the zoom lens, which is fine and it works really well. And I think, it's a good beginner if you're working from, especially like a point and shoot to a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Then a zoom lens is a pretty good one. You can play around with that and work on using your manual functions, like rather than on auto. And then once you've got the hang of it, then you can move on to getting different lenses. But honestly, this lens, which is the 45 millimeter lens, the Olympus lens, is gorgeous. It's really good, and so is the macro. Like, it makes the world of difference. But yes, let's do I buy them secondhand? So my lenses, I've been lucky to work with Olympus, and although my first lens with that I got with my EP2, that was just a zoom lens, and yeah, that just came with the camera. And then after that I've worked with Olympus, but my plan is for my OMD, because I can use the lenses interchangeably between the two cameras, so that that's really an added bonus for me. So yeah, with the OMD, like you can look out for deals with Olympus, and I think it's the Nikon lenses that are compatible with Olympus pen. So if you can't find an Olympus pen one, then you might be able to buy like a secondhand Nikon one that is compatible. But you can buy them secondhand really easily. I'm planning on buying a what are they called? I forgot now. I can't remember, but it's like the really big lens. Because I've got an idea for a portrait series that I really want to take. It's a bit probably a bit silly. I don't know when it will happen, but even if I just do it with myself, I'd like to do it. I still can't remember. They're the ones that you're not allowed in. This is not the kind of thing a person on a masterclass says, does it? I'm going to look it up because, my brain is not on my side right now. A telephoto. That's it. Telephoto lens. There we go. Right. Face palm. Is that face palm or a clap? I can't tell. Okay, let's edit a picture. So I took this picture just across from where I'm sitting. Like, so in your house or in wherever you feel comfortable taking a selfie, or a picture of an object, because your thing might not be selfies, it might be buildings, it might be just shadows or people in places. The brain should be on your brain should be on my side. And yeah, so what your thing might be different, but you can still play with light, and you can still play with you can still play with light and shadow and stuff like that. So let's see if this works. Transition. So hopefully you should be able to see my Lightroom screen. If you could let me know, that would be really great. I'm going to just, oh no, I want it smaller, please. I want it smaller so I can see what you're saying. Oh, it's made it a bit small. So, but hopefully you can see it okay. You can see it okay. Cool beans. All right then. So, I've got this picture of my own face when I was tired. And so this is just on my iPhone, and I picked up this little branch thing in the park, and I was just playing around with the depth of field, and the way that the flowers were making a pattern on my face. So there's my face real close up. And I really like to play with like light and shadow and stuff like that. So you can do this all on your mobile phone as well. Like if you can download Lightroom, then you can edit it all on there, and it has the same functions. It isn't a free app, so that's one thing I will say. But I think that if you're trying to edit better quality pictures, then I think Lightroom is the one that you want to be in. So let's edit this picture because I like the pretty patterns on my face there. So for Instagram, if you wanted to crop it, this is going to, sorry, because it's new on my thing. You can just choose what you'd like. So for Instagram, you can do the 1x1 square or the 4x5, which is what I'll choose, which is the portrait mode. And then we'll go back to settings. So what I would like to talk you through is the curve tool. So I'll just zoom down. Here we go. So if you select the overall, you can do each like of the individual colors, but that's tricksy. So oops. So if you selected that first one, which is like for the whole spectrum. So these are like the first dot is your shadows, like so your dark tones. The middle one is for your mid-tones, and this one is for your highlights. Look, it says it there for you as well. So I quite like the contrast, but perhaps I want to bring up a little bit more of the light or the shadow. So I just have a little play with it. So let's have a little play, because that is how we will learn things when we are in our state of play. I will apologize because I am not used to Lightroom on my laptop. Okay, so that is my disclaimer. I'm used to it on my phone. So you can see that where you put your dot, that's like the kind of point where you can change your midtones. and like arch them. And then if you look at the image, if I bring down the midtones, it becomes very heavily saturated, and quite, you know, that might be your thing. It's not really my thing, to have it that saturated, but you might want to bring the midtones up for like a dreamy kind of look. But I do quite like it a little bit, maybe just a little bit under. And then let's choose the lights and let's see. So see, you can, your highlights are becoming less of a contrast, or they can become very contrasted. Again, it's kind of giving you a saturated look, but more vibrant than if you were changing your midtones. I quite like the slightly less saturated. Let's go with that for now. So that is your curve tool. The curve tool is really great if, for example, let's just go into this picture actually, because this is quite dark. So in this, you can see that it's underexposed here. And because I was standing in the shade and taking pictures quite quickly, because, you know, Dahlia was running around and walking around and stuff. So I want to bring up those dark tones quite a lot, and then you can see it becomes really, really nice and clear. And then if I drag down my midtones, it makes it more dark again. So I can make it really quite bright just by using like slight differences of that. Like, look, that's brought it all the way up now. You can see everything really quite clearly. Can I get a thumbs up if this is all making a little bit of sense? If there's anything you want me to clarify, I can see the chats, so let me know. So yeah, so if you had a dark picture, so overexposed pictures, yes, it would. Overexposed pictures are a lot more difficult to get the lighting correct. I always slightly underexpose my pictures because it retains like the quality of the images, because when you overexpose a picture, you kind of are corrupting like the pixels and the it just kind of destroys the pixels. Same with if it's too underexposed, you know, if it's too dark an image, then you'll get a lot of noise then when you bring up the lightness. There is slight noise in this. This was taken on my camera. When you get an iPhone picture, the pixels and the quality will reduce a lot, but look, you can see her fine. It's not too blurry or anything like that. And then let's crop it. Let's just do this one for a little moment. Let's crop it. So I'll talk a little bit here now about, like, you might have heard about the rule of thirds. So all that means is that you have this grid, and really in a picture you would have your, like, I'd need to just maybe, you know, something like that maybe. But it can be like that. So you have like a third here that's free, and you have like a third here that's free. And then so Dahlia's filling that. Or she could be center or even top. So it's the rule of thirds is kind of a generic thing. You don't have to, you know, like with anything, I think they can help you guide your photography and framing pictures, you know, like how you actually take a picture and what you're going to include and what you won't include. But you know, rules are there to be broken. So just to bear that in mind. Like, and again, you know, that's like, I would want you to play with it and experiment, because, you know, like maybe you want to really zoom it in for whatever reason, because you're trying to, I don't know, maybe the words that you put with it will be something about, I don't know, taking the right path, or I don't know. So there we are. I'll zoom in. So yes, so the color. So when I brought up the light and the shadows, the color did slightly fade, because her boots were a bit brighter than that really, but as was like the green and stuff like that. So now we can go to I barely use these. The highlights and the shadows and the whites and the blacks are quite good. If you look in this area here, it is slightly exposed, but it's okay in this instance. But you can tone down the white. It turns down the white in her jumper as well. And then the highlights as well. The highlights, you can get rid of the highlight there if you wanted to. Same with the shadows, you can get rid of a lot of the shadows if you wanted that. And I mean, that does look quite nice. Or you can really exaggerate the shadows and have that kind of thing. But then again, you've just brought up the color with the curve tool. And so, as in, you just brought up the light, the overall brightness of the picture with the curve tool. Yeah, by increasing the shadows, then it kind of takes away from that. But maybe you want to lift the shadows a little bit, turn down the highlights a bit. So now we've got it's looking really quite clear. So yeah, the skin, if the skin looked orangey, let's see. That's not what we want. Okay. So I really love messing around with the temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. Like, again, if you follow me on Instagram, like, you might have noticed, like, I've got a different like a different slightly different style now. Like, for example, this is a funny picture. So it's kind of got like a vintagey vibe on top. But yeah, here's the temperature if you wanted to make it warmer and colder. Temperatures can work well, like just in small increments. Vibrance as well, I would use sparingly, like that's quite nice. It's kind of bringing up the colors again, saturation. So the vibrance is of like the whole image, and the saturation usually accentuates color. So if I take that back down to show you the saturation, you can obviously take it all the way down and make a sort of black and white sort of thing if you want. Again, have a play. And then and the vibrance, see, it's kind of the overall picture. If you look back here when I'm doing the vibrance, like you can see that it warms up the greens, like it's the whole image. It's making the light parts of the path more warm as well. So it's like the vibrance is for the whole picture, and the saturation is more for like the individual things. So I'm just going to turn it up because why not? So yes, Vicky, it depends on the exposure and stuff like that for each. Baby, 1 second, sorry. Children. Sorry, Dahlia. Sorry. I might have to mother also momentarily. But yeah, so the color mixer, this is great. Like, for example, if you want to change a color, let's zoom in here. You can use this tool here that you can click on that, so then it shows you, it automatically selects the hue usually. So look, I can I can change the hue of the tights if I want them really pink, maybe, you know, or maybe not. So it's a good way of adjusting. Sorry, excuse me. Yes, Dahlia, I'm doing my...
The eggs.
They're behind you on the floor. She ate them.
Oh.
Yeah. Goodbye, Daisies. Thank you. Thanks, John. Yeah, sorry about that, but this is life. So yeah. So you can do individual colors, as you can see. I can change the hue of the greens. Let's zoom out a bit. So you can, I usually do, oh no, thank you. No, don't do that, please. Let's take that back to naught again. Hang on. Stop doing it, color mixer. Right. Why isn't it? Unselect it, sorry. There we go. Right, so if we wanted to do the greens, I find it quite, like, you can make it more vibrant. It's changing her skirt as well. So you might not want to do the skirt. So I will show you, I will show you how you can sort of select and do it as well. All you do is you go to the paintbrush. You can choose the size. Say I only want to change this, yeah, I just want to change this bush here. Then I can change like the hue of that without changing Dahlia's skirt as well. So let's keep it, I don't know, let's keep it about there for now. But you use this brush basically to select what you would like to change, and then maybe I'd like to change, although I have to say again, I'm not used to the one that you have on your phone, Lightroom Mobile on your phone. I'm usually able just to brush and mark a whole thing. Oh yeah, look, it did do it. Okay, sorry. So yeah, so I can't see it, but look, if I did all that there, and then I can hold it and see it, and then then I can sort of change that area. If you can see, like the slight tips of the trees and stuff are changing. Oops, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah, and then you can delete it and stuff as well. So there we go. So you select it with the brush, and then you can also do like highlights and shadows for one area. You know, if you've got like a Trixie picture, will it pick all the colors in the picture that yes. So yeah, you can select it, but otherwise it will. Usually for me it's okay for that to happen. But you know, if I'm trying to bring it out in a particular area, then I can select it with the brush tool. The healing tool I don't really use, like, unless I need to get rid of like a pesky line, or I don't know if that is, but it's, imagine if that was litter and you wanted to get rid of it and that was like your vibe, then you could get rid of the litter, or you could get rid of something that was bugging you in an image. But again, you know, it depends on what you're inspired by, or what you're trying to take it. Sorry, it keeps giving me instructions because I've just downloaded it freshly onto my laptop. So yeah, so the color grading, this is something that's newer on the Lightroom mobile app, and I've had lots of fun with it. So let's just put this here. And then it changes the grading for your whole image. And I quite like this kind of, you know, vintagey yellow look, but you can go pink. It really just depends on what, you know, what your vibe is. But again, this is why play is so important, because then you get to experiment. It was only on the off chance that I discovered it. But it's quite nice when you go to the warmer tones, and then it does pick up on Dahlia's like colour hair. So then I can show you what the image looked like before, and then now it looks like that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Because I forgot, when you're editing pictures, you kind of forget what they look like originally. So that's what we started with, and that's what we've got now. Yeah, just doing it again just because it's fun. And then if we go back to this, it's quite a different image, isn't it? And then let's go to the top, and let's go to light. I'm going to change the contrast, even though I like a bit of the contrast. And the shadows, I want to lift the shadows up as well, because you still see this beautiful contrast here, and on my face as well. And I really love shadow play, and then again you can sort of bring it back down again. But the shadows and the blacks are different, but here, because it is quite an already contrasting image, it kind of works similarly, but like the whites. See, if I do that, sometimes you might want to pick up on the whites, because it can give like a sort of more flat image. If it's like lacking punch in your picture, then it can kind of make it seem a bit more full and a bit more 3D. So yeah, like, that might be your vibe. Maybe that's your vibe, to kind of have it more like that. It's not my vibe fully. Maybe it will be one day. So but I'm gonna bring it back down to here. So Vicky asked a bit earlier about presets, I saw, but so yeah, I have presets, yes. I save my presets. I will show you my presets now. I have all different ones, randomly named, that I've experimented with, and I will save them. So I can use them. But for example, let's do this one. I edited certain pictures. As you can see, it's called Flower Fields. And this is when I went into the flower fields with Rabia last year. So hopefully. And now, look, here we go. Skin is all orange. That is not what I want. So for those pictures that I edited for the flower fields, it, really accentuated all the things that I wanted to accentuate. But for this image, where I've got a lot of light on my face, and it's really contrasted, it doesn't work. Like, clearly I look like an orange. Again, that might be your vibe. No shade. It's up to you. But I know people have asked about orangey skin, so let's go to that. One easy way is to use this tool, the color mixer. So I can highlight this, and I'll maybe select saturation. And I'll click on my face, and then, oh no, that's the hue. But look, it's changing the hue, which is not helpful here. I want the saturation, please. Why isn't it doing the saturation? Here it is, that's why. You can make it more orange if you wanted, or you can make it way less orange. So you go to the saturation of the color. So that's one way of doing it. And you can see that's a bit too little, and I'm looking a bit grey and weird. So I'll just take it down a smidgen for now. Next, my lips, maybe. Let's see. My lips, maybe I want to change like the hue. Oh, no, please select my lips. Oh no. So this is the thing also, sorry. So if you've got two similarish colors, like, then you can, it'll keep changing them. So that's a bit annoying. But in luminance as well. Luminance is good if I do that. But yeah, so that looks a bit unnatural and not appropriate whatsoever. So yeah, so I've brightened it up there, and then I'll be like, it's looking a bit too, like, here it's looking a little bit overexposed perhaps and stuff like that. So I'll just click off of that and close that. Maybe I want to, and then here I didn't talk about that, but they're your mid-tones, shadows, and highlights. So what that would look like is you could change your highlights. So your highlights are all the bright spots. I quite like that peachy kind of tone. So let's go with that for now. My mid-tones. So they're all the in-between. I kind of like that, but it's a bit, let's go for that. So you can already see like my face is not as orangey as it was before. So you can change like the saturation and stuff like that. Like you could just use this saturation, like that's really orangey and that's really but this is a bit more carefully crafted if you wanted to get into those layers. And then look, there are your shadows, and then you can even color your shadows and give it, like, that's if I wanted a really vintagey vibe. I quite like that. But that might not be your vibe, and that's totally fine. And then maybe I'll take the exposure down a little bit, just a smidgen. So the exposure tool I don't use very often. I use the curve tool more so. Or this, like if I wanted to give some of the shadows back maybe, or a bit less. I think I like it a bit more shadowy. And then again, we can do the old, that's what it looked like. And that's what it looks like now. So still me, a bit vintage. So yeah. Is there anything else that I can show you? We could do this one again, like I've got my presets. Bahar is okay, it doesn't really work. Some of these don't work for this image. And then you know, if my edited image, then I don't know how I do it on here though. No, I should, let's see, look, copy, edit settings. So I can copy them and then I can paste them. Paste, edit, settings. And then here, so I've got the same kind of look now, and then I can edit, and then I should be able, usually it's here that you can do create preset as well. And it doesn't seem to be there, but I do have a whole thing here for presets. Let's see. No, I don't want one of those. I don't know where it is, but usually it's like here and then. Apologies, because I should have looked this up really. I looked up how to get all my presets and stuff on here, but I will find it for you. But this is how you you can just copy and paste, and you can copy and paste on multiple images as well. So if you were like batch editing, like but you know, like for example, I've pasted it on here, but it's a bit like it here, there's too much white, and then so I might bring that down here. And so I tweak individually as well. It's looking slightly too, like I might change the tint slightly. So I still give it a similar feel. Oh yeah, there you go. Create preset. There you go. Let's name it. I'll name it Masterclass. Save. There we go. And then next time I can just click on it. There we go. Masterclass. So it was just up here. It's just moved. There we go. So now I've got four images that are like completely different to what they were before. That was just me copy and pasting, but we did quite a few things here. So yeah, you can create your own presets like that. I am in the process of finding out how I can share my presets. Like, I don't know how to fully do that yet, but I will work it out because that's something that I'd like to do. But yeah, so any questions thus far? I will go back to my face momentarily, if that's okay. Hello. And I'm gonna just find your questions as well, because I did have them. Just so I think I have covered a few. But if there is anything specific, oh yeah, here we go. Let's see. There they are. I've got them. Yeah, so if your photos are very saturated, then you would use the saturation tool, or you would use the color grading as well. And yeah. Oh, somebody is a music artist. Like, I'm hoping they're here as well, Ruthie. And they said they needed to take some photos for a single release. That is really exciting. Congratulations. What are some good tips to keep in mind? So I think light, not overexposing your pictures. If you are not feeling confident enough to work on manual, then you know, it's fine to use auto. Totally fine. But just make sure that where you're taking an image, like take a picture of an object first, to see like what the light is like in the room, like what needs adjusting, yeah, and again, just play like, haven't I for a single release, like, I guess you've got your inspiration of your lyrics, like what can you use from within those lyrics, or is it a feeling that you feel when you're listening to the song? Like, is that something that you want to get across? Pardon me. So yeah, so it might be something like that you want to put across. I would use like textures, or you know, like how I used the flower, so you could use something to kind of be playful, where you are like interrupting the, I'm gonna just get a little I've got some flowers from very lovely friends. Here we go. Let me see. Let me get some little sprigs if I can. Just to kind of play with like the lens and stuff like that. So I can do it here like this, really. Let's see. So like you can do it like this and play with like poses, or perhaps like fabric. It really just depends on like what you're trying to convey. Like, you know, if it's a happy song, you want the image to kind of reflect the joy in it, or you know, perhaps it's another feeling and you kind of want to evoke that with your image, and you know, or a sense of who you are as an artist, as a singer, like what kind of artist are you. So it might be something, it might just be a bold picture of you just standing there and like some gorgeous lighting, like by a window. Like, actually, when you're shooting in natural light, one of the best places to take pictures is opposite a window, like in front of a window. So if you're facing a window, there's a window there, that's why I'm like looking that way, there's a window there. So yeah, So if you look at the window and then you have the camera set up in front of you, and then you can have some fabrics, or you can have it's emotive and empowering. So I guess think about what is empowering to you, like what is empowering about the song, and kind of think about whether you'll be in the image. Can you use something else to represent what empowerment means? It can be so many things, but I think as long as it kind of gets, it's open into interpretation. You'll know best. You'll know best what is, because it might be a building, like, I don't know, say if it was a song about Birmingham, but it was still empowering and emotive. Like, would I want a picture of me, or would I want a picture of a landmark? Because maybe like it depends, but of course, people connect with art in different ways and photographs in different ways, and so other people might not get it, but then do they need to? It's like, if it means something to you, then it's okay, is what I say. Tips for learning how to take photos with a camera phone, specifically iPhone. Oh yeah, that sounds dreamy. Yeah, like some swishy movement. So this is a good opportunity for me, actually, before I go on to the iPhone question, is to talk about the main things that you need to work on manual. And once you go to manual, like your life will be forever changed, because it gives you so much more control. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Any advice on how to take the photos, like what to make sure of before taking? Oh yeah, in terms of again, I mean, I just kind of play with light. I know it's not like the best advice, but it is just kind of playing with like what works, what doesn't work. This wall behind me, I really like it, but in photos it's not always the best. White walls work really well, but so do leaves and trees. I don't know. I use anything really, but like lighting, I mean, sometimes you can take a really impactful, like beautiful picture with just like on the side of a road. Like if you see some flowers and then you're just like, wow, if the light is hitting right, like, just take a moment of inspiration and kind of not think about it too much. If you're trying to take a picture of something specific, again, just natural light works best for me personally. With this camera, actually, the OMD, it does have a flash. It's got a flash, which is very exciting. And so I have had a little play with flash photography, because it's something that I think is really cool. But yeah, in terms of lighting, just make sure that it's not too bright a room. Like have a look in your camera settings, look through there, take a picture of like a still object of some sort, to sort of see what your settings are like, and make sure that it's not too overexposed or underexposed, because they're much harder to edit, especially overexposed pictures. So my personal preference for like how I edit and how I take pictures, I always underexpose my pictures, pretty much always, except for in weirdly in very bright light. It works really well, ever so slightly overexposed, which sounds strange because and I mean, these are all manual settings, so I'll come to that, but it sounds strange, but for some reason it gets rid of the harshness. So but only a smidgen. So I'll talk about that, and I've got something to read here because I just on my OMD, and also really similar on my pen, you have your three main things to kind of control your light and what your camera does, and they are your ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture, which is your f-stop. And basically what you're trying to do with your ISO, so the pens are the pens and the Olympus OMDs and stuff, they are one of the best in terms of your ISO. So your ISO is I'm gonna just read it here because I like is easier for me. It's basically the sensitivity of your sensor to light. Some cameras can have a very high range of ISO, but it doesn't mean that they're a good camera, because it depends on like how well they do that. So I know I've read up and researched, so because I was traveling and I did take night pictures, so but I was on auto then, but the ISO can go very high, but it retains the quality. It doesn't make it too noisy. So noise is basically like the disruption that your light sensors, when it has to work really, really hard to try and create as much light when there is a lack of. And then that can create like a noise to the pictures. But that might be your vibe. So maybe you want to do that, and that's cool. You can actually add grain and stuff like that for that effect in Lightroom if you wanted to. And then your shutter speed is how fast your shutter open and closes again. And then therefore how long your sensor is exposed to light. So the faster the speed, the less time your sensor is exposed to light, basically. And it's really good for example, Ruthie, if you wanted to do your swishy, I'm just standing up. If you wanted to do, because I'm wearing a swishy dress, but if you wanted to do a swishy dress movement, like flicking it up, or maybe some dance moves or something like that, then you would need a faster shutter speed. Even on most normal days, I usually have also my ISO at about anywhere between 250 and 500. Because I find that it creates a nice balance overall in terms of light for my image. And then also if I'm outside and I'm going from light to dark quickly, if I've got my ISO like at a medium sort of thing, then it's less time for me to change my shutter speed or change my f-stop, which I'm going to talk about now, which is your aperture. And then your aperture are your lens blades. I don't know whether you'll be able to see, like if I turn it on first. They're inside. You won't be able to see it, but you can see it, like you can watch it on your own camera. And it's just your blades and the hole through the lens. So the smaller the number, the bigger the hole, and you can get more light through. So I usually have my f-stop on anywhere between -1, and it is different for different cameras. So I am being Olympus specific, but it's not too dissimilar, to be honest. Yeah, I usually have mine mostly on -1. That makes it slightly underexposed that means when I'm editing, like you saw in the other picture, I was able to easily bring up the shadows and change the light, but I retained the quality of the picture. It didn't get too much noise, and again, I would have had my ISO on about 500. And your aperture is also what creates the depth of field. So depth of field is basically, you know, that nice like blurry effect that you get in the background. So it also controls that. With a zoom lens, I will be honest, it's you don't, unless you're very close to an object or very close to something, it's not really they're not the most effective at creating the richest depth of field, is whereas some of the other lenses that are more powerful or more just more powerful, they create a richer depth of field. I needed to read my notes. I hope that's okay, because so in your ISO, you're trying to balance between sort of light and noise, trying to get enough light, but that's like, you know, where the flash comes in handy if you want to have a go with a flash, if you have a flash available. Even on a point and shoot, you know, you can still experiment with these things even on a point and shoot. But yeah. So you might, but have a play with the manual. So have a go with the f-stop. The f-stop on the pen is just here. Oh, my pen, I love it so much. As you can see, it's really like bashed and stuff. It's really, I love it though. So the f-stop for the pen is just up here. And you just swirl it around. So like when you have it on, I can't really show you, it's a bit annoying. So like you would have it on, and then all you do is all you would do is turn the wheel, and it would just adjust it accordingly, and you can kind of like look and see what's happening and turn it. And your ISO button is just like you click the top bit there, or on my OMD it's a lot easier actually. So my f-stop is here. It's a lot more sort of easy to use, and my ISO is here. So yeah, it might be, I think there's usually like a wheel for it, so you might have to click a button. If you send me a picture, I can show you. But have a play with, I feel like that's like been my word of the night. You know, have a play with the manual function. So like those main three things really, but especially the shutter speed and aperture at first. Like unless you're shooting in very varied conditions, I think it's okay to just experiment with the shutter speed and aperture, and then your ISO. So the pens do have really good ISO. But you may get more noise. But I mean, even normally, I do have, even on good lighting conditions, like right now, there's still plenty of light, but it's like a duskier light, and usually duskier light means that there's naturally more noise. So you might want to have your ISO up, but not too far up, because then you will get a lot of, it'll look a bit smudgy, grainy. Your picture will look grainy. So yes, there we go. So yeah, your shutter speed, the faster it is, captures movement easier. Your apertures, your depth of field, and you can use your zoom. You can use your zoom lens, get close to things, just have a play and move it up and move it down. Like usually with the zoom lens, I don't think you can go up very high, and you can't go too low either with it. But try just going down to like -7 or like 0.7 or 1. You can try going the other way too if it's a little bit darker, and seeing what it does. That's what I would recommend. Yes, I do have more questions. But did that all make sense? I hope some sense. Like, I know it can seem scary going on to manual, but I promise you it's not scary. Nothing will come eat you. I mean, if it does, then disclaimer, that was just really unfortunate. And not the camera's fault, not you going on manual. Yeah, just go on it and have a look at those 3 things. The ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, your f-stop. So yeah, just have a go with it, and like the more you play, like the more confidence you will have, because honestly, remember, capitalism tells you, all of these, they do exist, and it's, especially if you're a marginalized identity in any way, whether it's your race, gender, sexuality, whether you have a disability, or whether it's, whatever it is about you that makes you marginalized, even being a woman to some extent, like obviously less so if you're a cishet white woman, but even then, yes, because there's certain expectations of us, and we're always sort of made to feel less than. And a big part of play is decolonizing our brains, because when we're in a state of play, we engage with like our like entire brains. Play is such a it's like the antithesis to everything that's pushed upon us, like told us to, like, we're told to create so much, and we're told to show up in a certain way, and we're told to always like go 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 go, and always be, and it's toxic because we can't always do that. Play allows us to make mistakes. Are they mistakes even? Play allows us to tap into our creativity. It allows us to discover things. It allows us to embrace joy. And it's why it's such a massive part of like the early years foundation stage, like for school kids, and it's lost so quickly within even the school system. We've got to change, overhaul education, because that is a big part of controlling us. And so I feel like we're taught play is amazing for kids and blah blah blah, but it is for grown-ups, it is for any age. And even if you think about, like, a lot of care homes bring in like pets, or they bring in young children to play and spend time with the sort of elders of our community and stuff like that. And I feel like, why is like such a massive part of our humanity taken away? Like, why is it, by taking away play and not giving us the opportunities? I think that is why people get drunk so much, like, and drink so much in England, because they're always like, you've got to escape from the daily grind, and you've got to kind of, you can be more childlike, and be like, oh yeah, but I was drunk. But it's like, try just playing for the sake of it. And play doesn't have to be like dressing up. Play is experimenting with your camera, taking pictures, whether it's of flowers or whether it's of cars, whatever brings you joy. It truly doesn't matter. And I think we've just got to remember that. That was my little passionate plea for play in our lives. So yeah, I should answer some more of your questions, shouldn't I? I'm going to take a little sip of water. And any questions, please do keep asking me in the chat. Had my haircut today, by the way. I'm very happy about it. It's been 2 years, that's why. Right, so, oh yes, camera phone. How do you keep I'm gonna answer this one first because it's kind of on the subject of play. Like, how do you keep passionate about keeping creative? Don't don't put that pressure on yourself. Like, honestly, that is a capitalist way of thinking. Without rest, there is no play. Without rest, there is no creativity. Without rest, and we're constantly pushing. Give yourself breaks. You don't always have to create. Genuinely, some of my ideas have come when I have been, so like the whole photo shoot that I did for Anisha Palmer for the earrings, and other jewelry and stuff. I was like, my hair was greasy. Okay, my hair was greasy. I'd just woken up and I was just kind of pottering around, and I had no intention of a photo shoot that morning. But then, like, I got an idea, and then I put on my sari, and then I put on my earrings, and then I did my makeup, and then Chris was sat here where I am now, and then I was taking pictures of myself in like this, this whole shebang. And so, like, no, have those breaks. Don't always like push yourself too much to create, because you don't have to, and you can't, no, just do something else that brings you joy. But do something else that brings you joy, whether that's going for a walk, watching TV, reading a book, cooking, whatever it is, literally whatever it is. And or look to other people, I guess, like, although that can be a bit noisy, sometimes it's nice just to trust yourself. So, but if you feel, really stuck and you do want to push through it, I think it's good to be inspired by other people. And they don't have to be doing anything that you're doing. It could just be a song. It could be another form of art that you're taking in. Like, so for me, music really inspires me. How did I develop my practical photography skills? I played and experimented and faffed and took lots of crappy pictures. I could show you my Lightroom, and it's just full of, like, it has so many pictures, but yeah, it's like just play. I want to know how to set up quicker with tripod, and it takes too much extra time. Sometimes just rest it on things. So I barely use my tripod. I will either hold the camera in my hand, or I will just place it somewhere and crouch, or so if you're able to do that, even if it's like, sometimes I've balanced my camera on trees, in branches, in bushes, ask my children to hold my camera and take pictures for me. So I'll like set up all the settings, and then I'll be like, so can you take pictures of me, please? How do I get over the fear of not being good enough? You are enough. Let me just say that. You are good enough, and good enough is enough. And I really, really think that this idea, as I said, is just, it is very much embedded in cis het white supremacist Patriarchy, you know. So yeah, neurotypical, all of, ableist as well, everything. So all of these things, all like most of the world is sort of aimed at one kind of person. Then of course we're not going to feel good enough or not feel able. And really, I think if we tap into play, where we're just playing and creating for creating's sake, then we will feel good enough. I'm not saying you'll feel it like all the time, but you can kind of get over the hump. Right, so I don't have that long left now. I can't believe it. I can't believe I've made it through. So, tips for taking camera specifically on an iPhone or a camera. I would say a really good tip is, there's my face, use this square. You tap on your screen. You can see that my cheek is overexposed that way. If I tap the square and then I drag my finger down, can you see it's adjusting the exposure? I can take it up as well. Top tip. That is my top tip. Use your whatchamacallit. I personally don't like portrait mode on this. It's fine. I've seen people use it really well. And you can have it so you have the grid on as well. And then you can use the grid once you've got it on your iPhone to use like the rule of thirds. You know how I was saying, like you leave like a third of picture empty, or you have like, something in the third of a picture. You can kind of experiment with the grid, like what you're taking a picture of. Actually, I did take some pictures. I'm worried now oh no, I can't. Can I? Oh, I won't be able to show you. Apologies. I did take some pictures today on a walk where oh my gosh, I need to hurry up, don't I? So it was basically where the sun was hitting some branches. So and it was just by adjusting my camera a little bit on my phone. Actually, maybe I can show you. Let's see. Just even like this. It's just these two pictures. So yeah, you can see that. So in this image, I've angled it so the sun is a bit more obscure. Not that one. That one. In this one, you can see actually it's difficult to see on the screen. But basically the sun on this one, they're really similar. But here it kind of disrupts like the image of the blossoms, but here it kind of highlights them. So it was literally just adjusting my camera like a little bit and playing with light again to sort of create that. And then this I was going to show as well, because it's got like the rule of thirds. Like this is less impactful than this. This is about a third of a picture, so it's not exact. Like this one's like filling up the whole one. I mean, you could make that impactful by editing it, so you have more like browns here, more greens here, and then you have like a third of blue there. So that is, that's possible also. But just to kind of highlight like the blue sky, I think that is more impactful than that one or that one. Yeah, so I hope that was helpful, Cherie. And patience to edit. Editing can be a bit, but I think if in Lightroom you have edited enough a few times, and you can save your own presets, and then all you're doing is like the curve tool to, adjust just adjust the light in each picture, then it isn't too bad. It won't take you too long at all. And then you'll kind of get used to it, and then you'll really enjoy editing. I promise it will happen. And then you might hate it again and then you'll love it again, because I think that's why I came up with like a new preset, or I have so many different presets, because I'm just like, maybe what can this do and what can that do. There was one other question. How do I turn a like on social media into an inquiry? I'm not the one to ask you that. I'm really sorry. Um, that is, I'll be honest, I think Instagram advice is predominantly bullshit. And a lot of people made a lot of money on it. Fine. But I just think that showing up, being yourself, having an idea of like what it is that you want to get across, and yeah, as much as possible enjoying it but not giving it too much time, is the best thing, really. Like, once you find your rhythm and once you find your sort of style or your purpose for then I think then you can make it into an inquiry, perhaps, but it depends on what the inquiry is. I get random inappropriate inquiries also. so so yeah, I think I've answered all your questions now. Yeah, are there any last questions? Because I should go now, but just in case, if there are any, I'm such an idiot. I'm gonna watch back. Like, what was that hand movement then? Oh dear. So yeah, if you do have any last questions at all, amplify voices if you can. If you have the power to look up intersectionality, use that in your artivism, use that in your art. See how you can give up power, and spend your privilege. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourselves, and play. Thank you for joining me on this masterclass. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. I was shitting bricks. But it's been all right. It's been okay. Thanks for keeping me company and asking me lots of questions and chatting as well, because that's really makes me feel like there's somebody actually there. Storage. How do I store and store photos for editing? So I just have a lot of storage. I just use what you should do. What you should do is edit your pictures, put them onto your on your Mac or on your phone. I do have an external hard drive somewhere. It's an Apple one. It's called Lacy, and it is like you can get you. It's not that cheap. You can get cheaper ones, but you can plug them directly into your phone or an app, and then you can move them over to your external hard drive. That is good practice. Me, I've got you don't want to know. You don't want to know how many pictures I've got. I've got 146,000 pictures on my iCloud. So yeah, I'm gonna tidy them up, but you can have photos and stuff, like, you can organize it in albums. You can create albums and have them in there. When you was editing in Lightroom and then you save them onto your phone, then you end up with an automatic, like iPhones, probably most phones create albums for you anyway, if you're editing in an app. So if you can't do Lightroom and pay for it at the moment, then Visco is a good alternative app, and I think some people like Snapseed as well. It's okay for some stuff, but Lightroom, if you're editing camera pictures especially, it's a lot better. Even if you're shooting on auto, you can use almost like the manual settings, like the tone curve, and all of those settings that I showed you earlier, to kind of have more of that control over your pictures. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you again. Yes. Gonna put my play pants on. Yes, please do put your play pants on. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Ah, and I'm going to play more. Yeah, please do. Please do, in whatever way it is. Play, I think, is just actually being curious and inquisitive and not holding any expectations for an outcome as such. Even if you have a rough idea, it's kind of that without that pressure. Thank you. I should end it now, shouldn't I? Thanks, everybody, again. Bye.